That's annoying.
これで神を言うのはマインだけだ。かんざしだけではない。マインは様々なものを生み出した。
Exposition though, since he'd know that she's brought them all sorts of creations if she has brought them all sorts of creations.
君の過去を調べさせてもらうぞ。マイン。
エレンを飢え死になんかさせない。
心理学、宗教、歴史、
That's a lot!
教育学、民族学、
Okay, I get the picture.
物理、地学、科
I
学、
said I get the
生
idea!
物学、芸術、体育。
Stop it!
図書館に就職が決まったことを一緒に喜んでくれたお母さんには、
What, and they didn't mind that you were constantly reading books non-stop rather than stacking the shelves like I asked you to do several times already? Wait, I'm getting too deep into the role of the boss of the library. Bruh, isn't this girl supposed to be super totes intelligent from all that fancy book learning from her past? I gather she hasn't yet fully forgotten her prior self, since she's mentioned several elements such as her old mother and her prior job and such, and yet here she is trying not once, not twice, but about 5 times to reach a door handle clearly out of her reach. Like, come on! The notion that even pretty darn thick duvet covers would actually, when folded, give you a solid half a foot of extra height. She is now clearly the height of the door handle. This isn't even really a sin, but what would be the sense in having this little sink-like box in the cabinet if you haven't got running water? For one, you definitely wouldn't want to be washing up in there with water you bring in, since the wood would go all kinds of manky, and for two, there's nowhere for what you put into the hole to flow away to.
私の知る歴史でも印刷機で大量生産できるようになるまで本は非常に高価なものだった。
She can recall details about her old world's ability through history to print books and yet can't tell if a room which is quite obviously a room for storing stuff is a storage room.
じゃあ母さんと一緒に買い物に行こうか。
買い物？
For the first and only time of the video, nope! She's super intelligent and knows the process of making her own soap and yet takes a hammer and smashes the fruit thinking that will gain access to the oil.
ほほう、ラルフ少年、狙いはうちのトゥーリですか。
Okay, let's calm down a little. They are children.
トゥリ。
何？
なんかお前いい匂いがするな。それに髪言ったら顔がよく見えて可愛くなったな。
They are 5 years old. You need to relax.
だろ？世界一可愛くて賢いうちの娘たちだ。
Why are you giggling and chuckling so much like he's tickling you or something? He's not even moving. What's so funny about this moment in time?
みんなで豚を解体して塩漬けや燻製やポットミートやソーセージを作るの。
豚の解体。
It's funny how she has an issue with dead chickens and butchering pigs and animals in general, but then would be more than okay with using parchment made from the skin of animals. Friggin' weirdo. Stick to your standards.
よかった、気がついて。
お父さん。
Clearly not, no.
うち男ばっかだから食べ物がもう足りなくなってきててさ。
Whereas if you had a sister, of course, your family would naturally starve them.
お腹が空いてるならこれ食べたら？
は？鳥の餌なんか食えるか？
Am I being led to believe that in a world full of poor people living around them and everyone struggling for food around winter time, that literally no one has ever tried to eat the food they make for the birds?
石室がなくなっちゃったの。
なんだ、そんなことか。
そんなことじゃない
She's pretty gosh darn intelligent and yet wasn't able to figure out the issue of running out of slate to write with until she was holding half an inch of it that was left over?
何父さん。
オットーはもう結婚しているからな。
My guy, she is 5. You lot need to chill out and relax a little, I swear.
驚いたな。計算機も使わずによくこれだけの計算を。
Anyone else think it's a little odd that this parchment costs a guard's 1 month's salary to buy, and yet here they are using multiple pages of that same parchment and purely for listing down their guard budget? Even if he had a lot of faith in her, allowing her to do the sums on her own for the first time and purely because she got a couple of sums correct that he got wrong and on such expensive parchment seems like something you wouldn't do. I mean, one mistake and that's ruined essentially, and it costs so much. Basically, in short, I think they covered a plot hole as to why she can't use parchment, but then kind of uncovered said plot hole when you make them use it so often for small things.
よし、できたわ。
Just like Bo Fury, I must admit the constant wah every time something happens does start to become mildly irritating. No sin right now, just putting it out there into the world.
これでどうだ。
Already? Wah!
給料は積質、体調が悪い時は休み。これ以上お得な助手はいないとオットーが力説していたな。子供相手にせこいやつだ。
Well, given that he's not even allowed to officially pay her since she's underage and not allowed to work yet, I don't think it's him being petty, especially when you also take into consideration that that is what she actually asked for.
ほら、みんなもぞもぞし始めてるでしょ。文字の勉強はここまで。次は計算だよ。さすが男の子、一目散だね。
Whereas girls are notorious for hanging around the classroom?
実践を兼ねて文字を覚えていこう。
俺が付き添ってやるから。
ルッツ。
Saying someone's name instead of talking normally cliche.
3日行って1日休みになり。
Cute for a montage, kind of weird to do in real life.
出来事を残して何度でも読むことができるんだよ。
へえ、いいね、女の子は。カルラのところはラルフにルッツに上2人も男の子ばかりだものね。
Are you telling her that just in case she forgot the names of the kids?
私の髪飾りってそんなに珍しいんだ。
You should already know that. You had to have your father literally create the tool with which to make it because it didn't even exist yet. Come on, girl!
父さん、もう行かないと。
トゥーリー。
会議の時間に間に合わなくなっちゃうよ。
Putting aside comedy for just a moment, why the hell is she so interested in the day-to-day duties of her father all of a sudden? Or are we just unaware of moments which have occurred, like sitting around the dinner table and her father saying, "Oh, you know what? If I'm ever late for a meeting, they're gonna kick me out of the guard squad thing, and then we'll all be out the street." Because as far as I can tell, she's suddenly acting like he's on the verge of getting sacked, and yet he's the damn chief.
トゥーリー、プレゼントだ。
母さん、ここにあった木管知らない？細いのや太いのやいろいろ全部表面を削ってある木で。
それなら使ったわよ。
So, out of all of that wood already stored there, she went and used the very special odd-looking pieces of smooth wood that appeared most recently? Also though, come on girl, the parents are more than aware of her weird book-loving stuff, and yet she goes through all of that effort and then doesn't bother to say, "Hey, by the by, the smooth wood in the wood storage bit back there, leave that alone please, that's my shizzle." She's dumb for not saying anything.
母さんに木管燃やされた。
ああ、まあただの木切れにしか見えないからな。
I mean, they are pieces of wood. Like, literally, that's what they are. They're pieces of wood.
でもルッツが取ってきてくれた竹管も。
ルッツが持ってきてくれた薪、バニヒツの木だと思ったら違ったのね。
Why is no one communicating in this group of people?
ルッツ、黙って私の言う通りにして。
なんだよマイン。うわー、やめろー！髪
を洗うならそう言えよ。
So what did he think was going to happen before that he's now suddenly fine with?
はじめまして、マインです。どうぞよろしくお願いします。
ほう、これはご丁寧に。このディオだ。
Hands clenching one another related sound effects brought to you by lightly stepping on a mint.mp3.
オットーさん、今日はありがとうございました。
なかなか楽しい休日になったよ。
I hardly think what was likely a 20-minute meeting at the very most can constitute an entire day off, but you do you, Otto, my friend.
それと、ルッツ、こういうの作れる？
You're just gonna ask him that without telling him what they are or how they work specifically? Or are you thinking by showing him a drawing he's gonna rush back with the actual piece of equipment fully functional?
案内するわ。
Well!
どう？おっと。
まいちゃん、休養を思い出さないか？
やったね。
Becomes slightly less wholesome of an anime when you consider that he made her wait outside while he went and did business with his missus.
いいか？君たちが作ろうとしている植物の紙が使い物になれば、二人はこの店の見習いとして採用される。ギルベルタ商会で取り扱う商品となる。だから君が一番に相談する相手は俺だ。
すみません。雇い主であるペンノさんのメンツを傷つける行為だったんですね。
Except for the fact that it doesn't, because literally no one else is even aware of the situation.
マルク、契約魔術の準備を頼む。はい。
Character with their eyes perpetually shut cliche. I mean, they always get stuck into like every anime. It's crazy. Their eyes aren't open. What are they playing at, those crazy so-and-sos?
マイン、契約するんだろ？
Okay, relax, bruh. You only just finished doing it yourself. Why don't you try handing her the knife first, and then when she hesitates, say that? Okay, take 3 here, and let us never speak of this again!
あれですね。あれ、ここどこ？
マインちゃん、気がついたのね。
Asking someone if they're awake when they're awake, brought to you by, in a cosmic infinite loop, Japan.
やはり見食いかもしれないな。
それこの間も言ってたけど、見食いって一体何なんだ？
I can't believe he brought up something you had no idea about in relation to your assistant, and I dare say friend, and at the very least your boss's daughter, and yet you felt no need whatsoever to ask what he was talking about.
問題ない。大したもんだ。
あともう一つ。
You gotta love how it was her writing out another order form perfectly that caused him to once again be full of suspicion assumingly, and yet not her rattling off parts of an as yet unknown invention she's creating. No, that was fine. It was the writing thing, even though he's seen her learning to write extensively already.
ああ、大きくなりすぎると危険だから、騎士団に依頼しなきゃいけなくなる。
騎士団なんてあるんだ。さすが異世界だね。
And yet, so did we many years ago, and we aren't a fantasy world. It also fits their time period that they'd have one too. I mean, by all means, when magic and funny fast sprouting plants get brought up, or trees made of like ice and stuff, yeah, compare that to a fantasy world, but not really on the Night Order front.
抜けた。これ、紙の素材に向いてるかも。
よくわかるな。
Well, in all fairness to her, she did say might be and not will be, bruh.
よくそんな風に持って混ぜられるよな。
I don't know. Have you tried? Was it difficult to achieve? Come on, dude. They're really stretching his suspiciousness, but only on the weirdest of things, like how she holds chopsticks, and not how she's literally inventing something in front of him and even says, oh, I forgot a part we need to make this new invention. Like, why are you focusing on the holding of sticks and not that?
消えた。それも魔術具ですか？
She's so smart and yet so dumb at the same time. That was so clearly magic, it hurts.
小銀貨4枚という意味です。
小銀貨4枚？
Two people say the exact same thing at the exact same time and in the exact same way, cliche.
では、我が家へ向かいましょう。
に育ちのいいお嬢さんって感じの女の子だね。ギルド長に似てるなんてベンノさんの杞憂だったみたい。
She gained this perspective from a whole 18-second introduction. That was so random. The weird zoom and over-the-top head rub. What the hell?
マインが考えたものは俺が作るなんて大層なこと言うなら次から次へと作って売れ金を稼げ
Wasn't this guy saying it was all about excess magic building up and age? Now he's saying go and sell all the stuff she invents. Like, what difference will that make? She keeps getting worse. I think it's time to call in the rich doctor people and stop worrying about keeping on making stuff and all that, bruh. After all, he has already paid her 3 small gold coins for her ideas on the shampoo, and still has yet to talk about what she even needs to do to fight off the illness. In fact, worst case scenario, she actually does have enough money right now for a magic bracelet to kill the fever for an entire year, and yet no one tells her about it in spite of her getting progressively worse and able to die at any moment.
この半年ほどで俺が遭遇した不可解なものの出所は全部マインのようだな。
すみません。
Why though?
なんだろうこれ。目が覚めたかしら。
No!
またすぐにカップから溢れてしまうわ。すぐってどのくらい？持って1年ぐらいかしら。1年。
She should really be lamenting the only a year part after finding out how much it actually costs. Because, not gonna lie, I thought she'd say a week or like a few months at most. A year is a long time.
あのお嬢さんがついてれば安心ね。
I mean, the girl's like 6, but yeah.
それから私はトゥーリに持ってきてもらったリンシャンでフリーダの髪を洗った。
How did she know to bring the shampoo with her when you said earlier on that Frida had let them know that you were at the house recovering?
なんでマイン様、ご気分でも。
Because people routinely cry when they're feeling sick? What's wrong with you, lady?
王さんは寂しかったぞ。
マインに嫌がられるわよ。
What? You're gonna put her off? What does that even mean in this situation? What's wrong with you, lady?
なんだ急に。
なんとなく。
Well, that was stupidly sweet. I wonder how they stretched this episode out!
なんでそんなになるまで黙ってたんだ。大丈夫か？
違う。平気。はあ。どう見てもお金持ち用の部屋だよね。
So she let them take her to a room and tuck her into a bed? Instead of simply saying that she was laughing or coming up with some other excuse?
私、話が聞きたいんじゃなくて本が読みたいんです。
うん。それはなぜだ？君は神の話を知りたいのではなかったのか？
Wouldn't that be the same outcome if she read it herself?
旦那様も待ってるぞ。え？首根っこ掴んででも連れてこいって言われてる。
But who said you actually had to in this instance? She could have come along quite willingly.
どうしたのトゥーリー、眠れないの？どうしたの？
無礼な良心を捕らえてマインを奥へ閉じ込めろ。この無礼な良心を捕らえてマインを奥へ閉じ込めろ。
Oh, they did that weird thing where they oddly get the guy to say the same line twice, once before the ad break and once after. So it's almost like he randomly said the same thing twice and confused everyone in the room.
まさか平民である君の親が貴族の命令を拒むとは。
マインは大事な娘だ。何度もそう言ったはずですが。
I think you said it twice, but you do you, bruh. Okay, so since there's no wins version for this one, I'll give a little review. I give this a solid 7 out of 10 on my anime list. I enjoyed it a hell of a lot more than I thought I would, in all honesty. It had some good humour and great world building, and their family dynamic as a whole was really full of feel-good moments. I actually hope in the near future that the patrons vote in the second season, as I'd love to revisit the world and see what's going to happen next in the story. Thanks so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video, and be sure to subscribe if you're not already. Loads of good stuff coming. Don't forget you can also help support the work I do entirely alone by pledging whatever you'd like to on my Patreon, in return for numerous rewards, and voting in Season 2 of this anime. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Nathan Burr, Bird Without a Word, Arias Alibari, Aidan White, PK Fan, Ali 50, Ryan Anderson, Isael Caldera, Chris Harris, Jonas Stahl, Manolo Saucedo Munoz, Luis Hernandez, Joe W, Yuki Ali, Manuel Morales, Dark Lord Bloody Soul, Sentimento, Jeffer6263, Silva, Master Tank, Boogie, Aurora, Kevin Nauta, Stefio, Brendan Kriya, Storm 970, Spirit Spinner, Mr. Waffle 64, Theodore Quackens, Kaj Vorzelman, Jordan Samuels, Humye, Crimson Shadows, Fourier, Kyle Farmer, Buzzbomb 3000, Mr. Beragino, Console Peasant 12, Adora Blue, Yagai 7636.